So yesterday we had the task of assigning all the Big Ten teams what class they were in.
A lot of agreement.
We had a lot of agreement, including
Too much agreement.
Including in the middle class, which had the biggest grouping of teams, 9 teams in the middle class.
And we agreed on all 9.
And so we just had slight disagreements on all of the others. There's a little more disagreement here as we look at the SEC. Now, we're classifying these teams in elite class, upper class, middle class, lower class, and basement.
Yeah.
And we have disagreements in all 5.
I'm not surprised. As I put together my middle class, I was disagreeing with myself throughout that exercise. So I'm not surprised.
And the first place we start is with the elite class.
What is going on with this?
I don't know what happened.
Green.
It is green. I don't know.
Well, I was saying our names. Look at our names.
Yeah, and this is the same as I used yesterday. So apparently,
N.
Apparently, the StreamYard's not totally fixed, but it's fixed enough. I have Alabama and Georgia. You have Georgia and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of teased this yesterday because I had already hinted, no, I would not put Texas in the elite class.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that debate at all.
But you did not have Alabama.
No, and this is similar to my thought process with Michigan, where I got to see it with the new guy. You know, like Alabama in my lifetime. Well, I guess they did win a natty in 92, but I was 4. After that, they were in the wilderness for a while. And so I don't think that they are, God's gift to earth in terms of college football programs. They had the best coach ever in charge. So I just need to see it a little bit more with them. They're obviously going to be in my next class. And so I think that they are on the downward trend, whereas I think Texas is very much on the upward trend right now in college football.
And I'm giving Alabama, that was the first non-10 winning season since 2007.
Yeah, it was
the first non-10 winning season for Alabama since 2007.
Yeah, 3 losses in the regular season. They lost their bowl game.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't really count a lot of those bowl games anymore.
That's fine. Yeah, so they went 9-3, which is still like their worst season.
A lot of what I'm doing is giving Alabama the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But with Texas, it's kind of the same thing as my justification for Oregon. I need to see them do it. They did get in the playoff, and they did at least win a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see them do it. So they're
when
close.
you say that, you need to see them win the natty.
Or at least be right on the cusp of winning it.
Mm-hmm.
And last year they got a little bit closer, but remember, only the last
they got to the same spot.
Only the last 2 years did they get multiple double-digit wins. Before that, it was
yeah, and that's why I think that they are very much trending. And
they're definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a big year for Texas.
Upper class. I have LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas. You have Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. So really all that we've done is kind of
we flipped Texas and Bama.
The teams that we left out in the first column, we moved into this column, and vice versa.
Debate in your mind about LSU? Any debate on them being in the middle class? Or was it obvious that this is where LSU belongs? Is this where they, because they...
I thought about it a little bit, but this is a program. I mean, sure, if I wanted to be a jerk and, discredit Brian Kelly, who I didn't think was as great a hire as a lot of other people did, I could have dropped them down, but it's still LSU. They still have everything that they've had, and it's not like they fell off the face of the earth last year. And they're in the conversation again this year.
For sure.
So, especially when you look at the teams that I have in the middle class, I don't see LSU in that same group. If I'm dropping LSU, then I got to drop Ole Miss.
And you got to drop Tennessee maybe.
And I might have to drop Tennessee.
Yeah, that, for the record, that was my exact argument that I was having with myself.
To me, these 4 grouping of teams, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, I'll give you that Texas is probably just a slight bit above these other 3
in terms of being on the way
but
up.
I see them all in the same group.
Yeah.
I see them together.
That was my exact reasoning too, is that I can't see LSU with the next group of teams.
Correct.
Because they're also like, they're too talented. Like, Ed Orgeron won a natty. Les Miles won a natty. Like, idiots have won championships there.
Mhm.
And Brian Kelly is a jerk, but he's a good coach. Now, can they break through? Like, this, I think, is going to be very much a put up or shut up year. I think Ole Miss, you do this exercise 5 years ago. Ole Miss ain't in the upper class. Like, it's a testament to Lane Kiffin. Can they break through as well? Like, last year's team was supposed to be the one. They had a now NFL quarterback in Jackson Dart. They spent a lot of money in the transfer portal, but they blew it. They lost some games, including Kentucky, that they absolutely should not have. And because of that, they ended up missing out on the playoff. Tennessee, they broke through. They did it. Of the list of teams on this graphic, them and Texas are the only one that made the playoff last year. Bama didn't, LSU didn't, Ole Miss didn't. So I think Tennessee very much belongs. LSU very much belongs. Ole Miss, they're going to get to a point, though, where they got to prove that they belong here.
Middle class.
So we got some disagreements here.
Not a.
Oh, because you have Ole Miss. That's the disagreement. Okay.
Oh, wait. Why? No, Old Miss should not be there.
Oh, so if you don't have them, then we have the exact same. We would have the exact same. Oh, no. I have South Carolina and you don't.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not sure why Ole Miss is still on there. You know why? Because I think I had moved them.
You had them in the middle class?
I forgot to edit this.
So do you want Ole Miss in the upper class?
Yeah.
Okay.
The graphic was correct from the last one, but we agree on Alabama, Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. You have South Carolina in the middle class. I do not. Why do you have South Carolina here?
Doorstep of the playoff last year, so I guess I'm giving them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that they are on the next rung down. I honestly, I kind of wish that there was a different rung for them to be on. I don't think they're a lower class team. So I guess, it's like you round up. If you're a 5.5, it's actually a 6. That's kind of what I did here. They're a blank and a half. I'm going to round them up to the middle class because it's kind of what you just said a few minutes ago about the neighborhood. If they're not here, then Missouri shouldn't be here, and then Auburn shouldn't be here. Like those are some teams that have not so much Missouri. Missouri was solid last year, but Auburn last year was stinky. Oklahoma, I think, is on the downturn. So it's kind of I just didn't like if South Carolina was in the next neighborhood, which is why I decided to keep them in this neighborhood.
The thing, though, about this is that South Carolina has been, the year before under Shane Beamer, they were under 500. They were an 8-win team in 22. They were a 7-win team in 21, and they went 2-8 in Will Muschamp's last year. Now, looking at the Shane Beamer eras, he's had 3 of 4 winning seasons, but they've been kind of, you're right. They were on the cusp of making the playoff. But I don't know. I don't necessarily. Missouri's had a couple of good years. Florida, I'm probably getting some benefit of the doubt because of the name of the program, and maybe a little bit with Auburn and Oklahoma as well. And Texas A&M just feels classic middle class.
Absolutely.
Right now. They definitely do not belong in the upper class, but they're not bad enough that they belong one step down.
Yeah, Matthew says Auburn has been bad for many years. They could drop down. Yeah, Auburn, Oklahoma, those teams, Florida even, in a way, kind of feel like the Nebraska discussion, Wisconsin discussion we had yesterday, and we had both of those teams in the middle class as well. So, I'm fine with hearing an argument. There's definitely a little bit of name stuff. Oklahoma, in my mind, though, has dropped a ton. If we would have done this exercise like the day that it was announced they were leaving, at the very least, Oklahoma would have been in the upper class.
Correct.
They wouldn't have maybe been in the elite category, but they would have been there. And now they are trending to leave the middle class for the lower class, which is pretty wild.
In the lower class, we agree on Arkansas and Kentucky. I have South Carolina. You have Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and you want to talk about recency bias. I hemmed and hawed about Vandy belonging here versus the lowest one, the dregs. They had a nice season last year. I do think that they are on the upswing right now as a program. You could also tell me this is way too much recency bias.
That was my thought process as well. They were good last year. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike an Indiana, who was great for them, Vandy, not so much. And Vandy just traditionally,
they've been pretty bad historically.
They have been very bad historically.
Yeah.
And so,
that's why, it's interesting. So we disagree on every level, but it's one team basically moving from one to the other.
Sure.
Yeah, Mississippi State sucks.
Yeah, Mississippi State they're at the basement. And I think, you get another mediocre year, which for Vandy is good, yeah, they would be lifted out of this.
Fair. Joe in Vegas is a pinhead sometimes. He says Texas should be middle class. Last year, they played the JV version of the SEC schedule. They played one real team last year, and that was Georgia.
Schedule.
Yeah, but they made the SEC championship game in year one, and they made the semifinals of the playoff. Like, if that's not upper class of a conference, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And the year before, they beat Alabama. Like, this is not just about one season. We're taking recent history into account and all of this stuff.
And a little bit of projecting to this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
Texas is going to be in the mix.
I don't think, in my opinion, they don't belong in the elite class because they need to prove it.
They definitely don't belong in the middle class.
But they're much better than that.
If you've proved it on the field to that degree, which they have 2 years in a row, they've made the semifinals, and they were first and goal with a chance to tie Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's not upper class or elite, we disagree on that. But if that's not at the very least upper class, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
I don't know what is.
Tell me where I'm wrong, Joe says. Who did Texas play outside of Georgia? They were given a gift of a schedule while Oklahoma got brutalized with theirs. And it's true, they did, but Texas did at least acquit itself a little. I mean, they almost won the SEC title.
Yeah.
And they went as far in the playoffs as Georgia did.
Yeah.
Or further, right? Further.
They went, then who?
In Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia lost in their first game. Texas made it to the semifinals. Yeah, they beat on the road a Michigan team that was very much below what they had been.
Sure.
They beat Oklahoma, very much below what they had been. They did beat that Vandy team that we just spent some time talking about. They beat Florida, a Florida team that was playing good football at the end of the season, and they beat Texas A&M. And they did lose to Georgia. One of those games in overtime and one of them by 15 in the regular season. At the very least, they're upper class. I'll have a debate with you, but I'm not going to – there's nowhere near being a middle-class program.
No.
And again, some of this is projecting, and I'm going to project that they're going to be pretty good. We talked about with Richard Johnson earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're one of the teams that could win the national championship this year. They're very much on the short list.
I agree, too.